Hello, gentlemen. Today we're going to break down the belt match between Henry and Cobo. So this happened last night, and Cobo did end up beating the GOAT. So respect to him. Very difficult to do in any MCS match, and he pulled it off. I know they're very familiar with each other. I know they lab and all that kind of stuff. And I just want to say congrats to Cobo. He is a guy that deserves more respect, in my opinion, because based on what I know, he puts a lot of like the dirty work in. He labs a lot of his own stuff, and he's not one of the guys who just kind of copies people. So I will always respect people like that. And just beating Henry, and again, any MCS match is very difficult. So respect to him. Congrats. Now we're going to break down his trips. His trips is out of the Buffalo playbook, which in my opinion is the best trips playbook. You can argue with me if you want. That's just my opinion. But we'll eventually cover defense maybe in another video. Because Henry does run quarters normal against this trips, and I do think even though he kind of gets dotted, this quarters normal is very good against trips, and I'll kind of explain briefly throughout the video, but then I will maybe break it down in a separate video. But let's go ahead and get right into it. Okay, let's get this started. We're going to start this right on Cobo's first drive. He's just going to run the ball first and just get on a hash. That's what any trips player is going to do, is just get on a hash. That's very important. And then we'll go ahead. This is where it actually starts. So I believe he calls Y post here on this play. So let's see his final route combination. So he motions this guy out. I think it's to kind of mess up his alignment a little bit. I'm not 100% sure on that. But let me go back a little bit and pause it on the play art. Okay, here we go. So we have the comeback. That's going to be a very good route against a lot of shells that people like to use against strips. You have this zig and drag combo. I know it looks kind of like weird, but it's actually really good. It does give you like two good quick options. And then if he doesn't blitz, this post is oftentimes going to be open unless they have a specific adjustment against it. So let's go ahead and take a look. Henry ends up sending the pressure. And if you look, you're going to see the post from the tight end is going to be wide open if he gets time, because this guy here is actually manned up to the zig. So Cobo reads this properly. He ends up throwing to the zig. If he ended up getting more time, he could have had the post, but you know, Henry knows this. If he sends the blitz, he knows he's probably not going to have time to throw this post. So Cobo throws hot, pressure inaccurate, takes him to 3rd and 12. So that was a good read by Cobo. He just got an inaccurate throw. And again, Henry's in quarters normal. I'm not going to talk about that really in this video. I'll kind of talk about it briefly, but I do think it's very good, despite getting dotted a little bit here. So right here, he motion blocks this guy in against this quarters pressure. This is going to give him plenty of time. He basically has a high-low between this angle and this post. That's going to be good versus pretty much any coverage, to be honest with you. It's like the same concept as slant post. And then what we're going to have here is this backside comeback. If he runs any kind of deep blue or man up, that is going to be an option for him. And again, Cobo kind of just gets screwed with a pressure inaccurate, and there's nothing you can really do about that. I mean, you're not going to be running fearless in this meta. So you're sometimes going to, unfortunately, get those kind of misses. All right, so I think this is PA boot shot. Let me check the play art. Couldn't see it, so I think he's just clearing out for this like kind of post here from triangle. Kind of want to throw him like right here. If you can't, then this tight end's oftentimes going to be a read. Henry wisely swats that away. And one thing I want you to notice is Woolen is right here lined up over the tight end, and he has deep out zone KO. So this is going to be really good at defending, you know, tight end corner routes. So if you watch this tight end, this is kind of like a weird, unique corner route. You're going to say like, this looks kind of open. I'm telling you right now, guys, you cannot throw that. Like, this deep out zone KO is going to break on that ball. And I think Cobo had the right idea here. He maybe should have thrown him a little earlier, because this deep out zone does go kind of crazy. He gets a pretty bad throw by Joe again, if I'm being real. And then Henry, again, just wisely swats that away. So that's Cobo's first drive. Okay, here we go with the second drive. So he's in the middle of a hash again. He's just going to pretty much run the ball and try to get on a hash. And I just wanted to show this mainly because Henry's run defense here, like this is a good example of how good Henry is, or how good these players are in general. Watch the blocking. You're going to see this is really good blocking. Like everybody's pretty much getting picked up. And then watch Henry's user. He ends up basically getting around one of the blockers and making the play himself. If he doesn't do that, like this is a huge gain. Everybody's getting picked up pretty much. So I just wanted to shout out Henry on that one. That's pretty impressive, even though it's just kind of like something that can be easily overlooked. So let's go ahead and skip ahead. We're going to go ahead and just kind of be selective with our plays here. So I think this is Y post. Let me go back and make sure. The reason I wanted to show this one, I don't think I get to see the play art, but I do think it's Y post because this tight end's on the angle post. So the reason I want to highlight this play is Woolen is lined up over the tight end, and notice what adjustment he's on. He is on a middle third, and look how well he plays this. And if Parham isn't 6'8", that's probably a pick. I don't blame Cobo for throwing this, actually. I think this was actually kind of smart because he doesn't have a KO, or he doesn't have a deep in KO on Woolen. So that's not going to activate. It's worth throwing it up there. Seeing if he crosses his face, it makes the play. He did miss the zig underneath for 3rd and 3. I do think on 3rd and 3, it's not a bad idea to look down towards the zig, considering how open it usually gets. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight how good quarters normal is because you can put him on like outside third, inside third, that kind of stuff. So right here we have a 4th and 3. And this is going to be wide receiver short post. Let's go back to the route combo here and show you why this is actually really good. So we have this backside post that's really, really good. It's sharp. It gets underneath deep zones. He's going to motion block this guy here, so no pressure. Drag underneath for a short option. And then this tight end corner is what I really want you to pay attention to because Woolen, again, has deep out zone KO. But this corner route is pretty much unaffected because it is so shallow, it is not going to activate. So drag, you can argue that's open. I mean, it's scary with Henry's user being so good. He's kind of defending 2 routes here. Since the pressure's picked up, honestly, he was going to have this backside post too. But the tight end is definitely the safe throw here. And he ends up converting on that one. Next up, we have another 3rd down. And Henry does end up committing illegal contact here, which, in my opinion, happens way too often in this game. Like, way, way too often. But he basically has, like, this guy's on a post, this guy's on a fade, he's going to motion him in a step, and he's going to be on a post. Wait, sorry. This guy's going to be on a corner. This guy's going to be on a post. So, yeah, so motion corner, post across. The drag kind of runs into the same spot, but it's just like he's just trying to flood the trip side. But yeah, good little dot here. Now, this next play, I want to show you kind of like why Henry is... I know this video is about Cobo, but this is actually just really smart defense. I learned this from C. Vasti, who's one of the best trips players in my opinion. Anytime somebody motions a receiver across the field like this, they are typically trying to do a longer developing concept. So blitzing isn't really a bad idea because you want to speed things up for them where they can't hit their longer developing route. So I'm not saying that they don't have a short route because Cobo does have a backside drag. But he sends the pressure, and even though he blocks his running back, he still gets in free. So Cobo's expecting to have more time. Pressure comes in. He doesn't get a sack, but he does get an incompletion. So let's go ahead and check out the next play. I believe this is a really good dot by Cobo. Let's check the play art. Yeah, so let's go back a second. We'd have to be quick with it. Okay, so this is wide receiver short post. He has a flat from Parham from his tight end, a streak. That's going to be really good against, I'd say, anything but like a vert hook, because the flat's going to pull things to the sideline. User is going to typically have to take this running back unless the running back is manned up, which I would say is not that common of an adjustment, because running back angle routes, running back wheels, they kind of torch man. So not the best idea to man them up typically. Then you have this flat zig combo, which one of my favorite combos, I think, is very underrated, because the flat will pull everything to the sideline. If the zig gets pressed, the spacing is just going to be really good, and you can still throw the zig even though he's kind of running into this flat. And then we talked about this backside post already. Very sharp, gets underneath deep zones. But he ends up seeing immediately that he can throw to his running back, because Woolen ends up bailing towards the outside third. So good dot by Cobo. And then to cap off this drive, which is an amazing drive by Cobo, he gets the touchdown on this play. And this is just a really good example of good pocket. Like, the dot is good, but I just want you to like focus on how Cobo doesn't freak out. He just kind of like, he maybe shouldn't have stepped up so far, but it doesn't really matter. He ends up getting out and finding this flat, because the flat was originally covered. If you watch the vert hook plays him for a second, it might be a shaded down vert hook, I'm not sure. But he ends up buying time and getting to this flat. So that's just a good example of, like good patience, good stick work with his quarterback. And he capitalizes on a drive that was really, really good. Like, he converted on multiple third downs and fourth downs. As you can see, 12 plays, 75 yards. Almost 4 minutes. Very good drive. So this is where it kind of goes sideways for Henry. He returns this kick, which back here in this part of the end zone, the likelihood of you getting back to the 25 is pretty low. Even with motioning this guy out for the block, I mean, it is very good blocking, but even with that, I don't think it's a good idea. You open yourself open to hit sticks. You open yourself open to strips. Even if you go down, sometimes you don't go all the way down and you can get popped, and this kind of thing happens. I'm sure Henry regrets taking this out. And yeah, I mean, it ends up being a turnover, and Cobo definitely does capitalize. We'll get to that in a second. That's just a good shed there. So this just ends up being basically stock verticals. It's just a running back angle route added. And Henry ends up backing off this slot corner. I don't think this is the worst idea. The reason I don't like it in hindsight is because it's 3rd and 20, and he ends up shading his coverage down. So watch this guy here. You see how he ends up giving this seam streak immediately? Maybe Henry wasn't expecting, basic verticals. He almost gets there with his user. He recognizes it immediately. But this backed off shaded down man just gets torched too badly. And great dot by Cobo. Going up 14-3 is really good against Henry. I know it's not a guaranteed dub against somebody like him. But when you're in kind of the same level as him, this is a significant lead. And it's going to be really hard for Henry to climb out of this. So this play is a good example of why you should be running KOs on your defense. Because if you don't, you are going to get dotted by things like this. So right here, I mean, this is open. Good throw by Montana. Good read by Cobo. And the KO just knocks it free. I mean, look at him. He activates and he breaks all the way over there and knocks it out. This is why KOs are for sure the ability you should be running on defense. Don't be running D-line abilities. They're pretty much useless. You want secondary abilities, deep outs, deep ins, as well as like pick artists, lurk artists, that kind of stuff. So for this 3rd down, I do believe Henry started to press maybe just a little bit. I think he really wanted the ball back, so he kind of sold out on defense. So what you're going to see is Cobo ends up running Y post. I don't think this is the final play art. Let's see if we can see it. Okay, so motion block. So Henry's blitzing, and I'm sure Henry's thinking, okay, I'm blitzing. He is probably going to throw hot and at the sticks. That's probably what he's thinking if I had to guess. So he's staying shallow with his user, ready for drags, that kind of thing. Running back angle route, running back streak. He's probably looking for all of that, but he ends up running Y post, and this tight end's going to split these safeties because Henry's pretty much in a cover 2, like hard flat with like this guy manned up here. And this is the perfect play call because it's going to kind of put your opponent in a bind. Does he want to defend the sticks or does he want to defend beyond the sticks? And in my opinion, like, you typically want to defend beyond the sticks because 3rd and 4, they're still going to go for it on 4th down. So don't give him a huge gain like this. Good by Henry to stop him from getting a touchdown. But I do think he sold out a little bit with this shell and with his user. I would have, if you're going to man up that slot guy, just defend the tight end. And if he throws a drag, so be it. Then just kind of live to fight another down. So Cobo is about to cap off this drive. This was just a play that kind of stood out to me. I think a lot of people would not have had the patience to throw this. He waits for this drag to get past this safety 3 rec and throws it right here in the tightest of windows. Everything else was bagged, so that's all he had, and he had the patience to hit that. It was only a 3-man rush, but still, he didn't force anything. He's just being smart. So he does cap this off with, I think, he audibles down to a stretch, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so he's got a RPO stretch, and I just don't think Henry had the shoot for this, and he ends up getting the touchdown right before half. Okay, so coming out of half, Henry does end up scoring, making it a 1-possession game, but that is going to change pretty quickly. Right here, I do think Cobo is hoping for he's hoping for a cover 2 type shell on this tight end side because as you can see, he has the tight end streak. He's motioning over this vertical seam route, and basically what he's trying to do here is hit like this sideline part. But pretty quickly, you're going to see that's not going to be an option because Woolen is going to be in an outside third and defends it really well. But Cobo sees a big hole and ends up scrambling with Joe Montana for a very big gain. And then he ends up capping off this drive with, I think, the next play. Yeah, so this is PA boot shot. Pause on the play art. We'll talk about it very briefly. So he's going to have the C route over here. That is going to be really good against, or it's going to be holding the safety in this instance because I think Henry plays like a cover 2, but like more of a cover 2 invert. And that's going to hold this safety. And he keeps playing shaded down man. So this streak is going to do a really good job at getting separation deep. And you see how the safety can't make a play on that despite having deep in. That's just a really good dot by Cobo. That C route is oftentimes going to be good versus deep zones as well, but typically if you streak the outside slot receiver, not the inside one. Everything was bagged except for this streak. And at this point, Henry's running out of time. It's going to be really hard for him to come back from 2 touchdowns in basically a quarter. So this is pretty much the game right here. It's 4th and 10. If Henry doesn't convert this, then it's over because Cobo will at minimum kick 3. Go up 3 possessions with just over a quarter to go. And yeah, I mean, there's not much you can do about that. Even for somebody at the caliber of Henry, that's borderline impossible, especially against somebody who's good and smart like Cobo, which will very unlikely let that happen. So this is the game, and spoiler alert, it does not convert. Entire play is pretty much bagged. I'm not sure anything would have gotten open. I think the most likely route that gets open here is maybe square on the left side of the screen because I think he's in like a cover 2 shell. Safety, half, I think. Might be a third, but I think it's a half. So this guy could have held the safety, and then square could have gotten open late. But I think Henry's just fed up at this point. Doesn't make the best read despite everything being bagged immediately. And that is just pretty much where it ends for Henry. So at this point, it's pretty much over. Cobo gets the ball back. He's going to clock it. He's going to score again. Henry does end up answering and making it 2 possessions again. But at that point, it's pretty much over. And there's really not much to show at this point. It's really just a lot of clock management. And there's not a lot of meat on the bones to break down. But one thing I want to talk about is one of my opinions. And it is that I think Henry would have been better off with Hot Rod Master instead of Set Feet Lead. The entire stream, the casters, so User, Nick, and Ryan, mainly User and Ryan, We're talking about set feet lead. Like, it was the greatest thing of all time. Like, yes, it is a really, really good ability and possibly the best. But for 4 AP, I don't think it's better than 3 AP Hot Route Master. When somebody is boxing the absolute crap out of you, set feet lead is not going to bail you out. Hot Route Master is. And right now, or in this game, Henry got super bagged by Cobo. And I think he really needed extra routes. In some cases, yes, you don't need those extra routes, especially if you use bunch or something. If you use trips, you definitely want that Hot Route Master. But I just wanted to mention that. I think Hot Route Master is better for 3 AP. And I think Henry would have been better off with it. I think he wouldn't have gotten this bagged. He maybe still loses. I don't know. But you could tell he was really missing those extra routes to get him out of a box that Cobo had him in pretty much all game. Henry did score a couple times, had some really good dots. But overall, you could tell he was kind of struggling to move the ball against what Cobo was doing. So I just wanted to mention that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this breakdown. Drop a like if you did. Let me know in the comment section if you guys want me to keep doing more breakdowns. Otherwise, I won't. And then if you guys want additional help, you guys want, really detailed breakdowns, check out acemadden.com and check out our ebooks. Check out our full offense, full defense. We do have a full trips on the site. So if you guys want to run very similar trips to Cobo, check that out. It's by C Vasty. But that's going to be it for the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.